Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Business, and this is the Novik, doing the Tier 2, 3, 4 Russian cruisers today. And this is one of the uglier ships in the game, and I think it's really just because that mast is throwing me off. Like it should be behind the bridge, if you want to call it that, because it seems like it's backwards, the whole ship. It's just really strange looking to me. But yeah, this is a curiosity because it actually has AA defense at tier 2, which I don't know, that's kind of strange, but not like that really matters as far as AA defense. I mean, if a Langley's gonna come after this, it's gonna kill it, period, you know. But the default setup, not that great, of course. When you get the range upgrade, you go up to 10.1 kilometers. You get the hull upgrade, you get a couple more turrets, just a sliver more of health as well. The big benefit with these guns, though, is that one, you get the benefit of basic firing training, advanced firing training, so you have faster reload. You know, if you want to stick with just keeping a captain in this, and you can obviously get the additional range as well from AFT. I would probably not go with AFT. 10.1 kilometers is pretty solid, and let me see with my notes here. The Chakuma has a range of 10.3. All the other tier 2 cruisers have less range. 9.3 for the Chester, 8.9 for the Dresden. So that's actually pretty solid, and I mean, you can look at the ranges for the tier 3 cruisers, and it's actually competitive with them as well. I disregard the whole expert marksman here with the turret traverse. I'd probably switch that over to last stand, or maybe one of the just something else. High alert would be a good option. Vigilance less so. I mean, you're mobile enough. I mean, if you have torps coming up, all of a sudden you should be able to dodge them pretty well with this. But demolition expert, I think, would work really well. Try to give this a little bit more of a chance when it comes to setting fires. You can get the speed up to 26.3 knots. Again, that's actually pretty damn good. I mean, we are talking a tier 2 cruiser here, and just taking a look at the camo patterns that you have available with the Type 1, Type 2, and Type 6. I think they all look pretty good, actually. I really like the Russian cruiser camo color. I think it's fantastic. The black, white, and blue. It's really cool and works on a whole variety of ships, which you will certainly see throughout the day here. Now, this gameplay is going to be the only match of the Novik that I show you, and I've played it a few times, and I've had a couple decent games in it, and I think this was actually the best of the bunch. But one thing that I can recommend to anybody who's just starting out the game, or who is finally transitioning over to trying out the Russian cruisers, is to keep these guns firing all the time. Now, this holds true for the Novik, a bit less so for the Svetlana, and I'll get to that in a bit. But when you're talking low tier, you're just trying to get some damage in the first place, and obviously the best way to do that is to just keep firing. And these guns actually have for the size that they are, at 120 millimeters, they actually have a pretty decent fire chance at 8%. So again, if you get demolition expert, that goes up to 11%, and given the overall volume of shells that you can put out pretty quickly with 5-second reload with the benefit of basic firing training, you can definitely get some work done with this type of ship. And I highly recommend just I hate saying it, honestly, but spam the shit out of HE. And I was hoping that the Kawachi would ram the enemy Kawachi, but alas, that's not to be the case. So, still got a Kawachi to deal with, and for some reason that South Carolina is just running right out of the cap, not shooting at me. So, there's a Sturgevoy right here. There we go. And he's backing up. Beats me. I guess maybe he was going to try to do a torp drop there and like stay in the smoke or something, but that didn't work. And if you take a look at the minimap here, this is kind of a bad situation to be in overall. So kind of alone up here. There's another destroyer, another cruiser, and that's it. So now that the Sturgevoy is down, I'm going to go ahead and start capping. And there's the Kawachi. So, the good thing about a lot of these cruisers at low tier is that they may not have a lot of large guns, but they just have a lot of guns. So you can turn and immediately start engaging an enemy ship, and it's a lot of fun. Like, just not having to wait for turrets to swing all the way around and do a 240-degree turn so you can engage the next target. So just for the sake of shooting, sometimes it's just a lot of fun to play. Now, there's an enemy Dresden here after the Kawachi finally goes down. As far as the Dresden's concerned, I'd actually say this is a pretty dangerous ship to face. I don't know what it is about it, honestly. It just, for me, it never worked. It never set fires, it didn't do shit for damage. But in everybody else's hands, it always seems to start a lot of fires. And I've gone up against a few of these in the Novik, and it was a hell of a lot closer than it should have been, So, I tried AP on it, didn't really have all that much effectiveness, and so on and so forth. But the Novik, though, does have a considerably better chance of starting fires, and it's again 8%. But when you're looking at the Dresden, it only has a 105mm gun, so it does have a lot of them though, and that can certainly knock out a ton of modules and disable a ton of guns. Now there is an enemy Chikuma over here, and there is a St. Louis off to my right, so you can see I'm just trying to keep these guns blazing and trying to dodge as many of those shells from the St. Louis that I can. And see that? There we go. Alright, got him. Hopefully saved a teammate there, and now I just have a full health St. Louis to deal with. And this is, again, one of the stronger suits of the ship, is just being able to trail away, constantly swinging that rudder. As you can see in my ship in the bottom left, I'm constantly wiggling this thing around and just raining shells on anybody who's following you, because it's, again, decently quick at 25 knots, and you can just have enough range between you and the enemy ships to be able to do this type of thing. Make them chase after you and make them suffer along the way by just constantly hitting them. And of course, if your lead is good, then that's great. If it's not, then you're certainly going to be able to practice with a 5-second reload. But I do like this ship. However, when you're looking at it as a whole in terms of tier 2, and I know I'm probably overthinking this to a lot of you guys, but I do reviews on all the ships, save for carriers, so I try to approach them all the same way regardless. To me, the Chikuma is the best tier 2 ship, as far as the cruisers are concerned at least. Destroyers, I'm still kind of iffy about that, but well, and that there's only 2 lines. I mean, we at least have 4 ships to compare at tier 2, so that's good. I think that the Chikuma has very, very strong HE shells and can actually surprise with the AP too. And check out this kill secure. Now, I may not be able to see this guy, but I could sure as hell at least try to lob shells over the island, and certainly enough clearance, but get off my lawn. Get out of here. Not having any of that. Can't run away from this. And I really like this ship in the sense that it's just fun to shoot and just fun to mess around with. But I do think it's behind the Chikuma, which I don't have any doubts about that being the best tier 2 cruiser. But everybody's experiences differ, of course. But I mean, 152mm shells at tier 2, hell yeah, I'll take that. Now let's take a look at one of the best options for any ship under tier 5, the Bogut tier. Now this, honestly, if you haven't played this ship, shame on you, alright? I'm just going to say that right now. Let me first mention that the ship has a couple different options here for the turrets, the 152mm and the 130mm turrets. Now, when you're in the stock form, you have the 152s, you do have secondary guns and all that, which is actually kind of surprising that you have that many. It's more like a battleship in terms of that respect, because there's 6 each side, which is kind of impressive, but not like you should rely on those anyways. I mean, after all, you're a cruiser, you can do better than that. The range goes up to about 11.4 kilometers, but remember that if you switch up to the 130, you get the benefit of being able to draw from basic firing training and advanced firing training to be able to increase your effectiveness overall. So having a 20% boost to range, having a 10% increase rate of fire from basic firing training, all of that adds up. Now, when you switch up to the B hull, you do lose all of those secondary turrets, but you gain additional main battery turrets, and kind of cleans up the ship a little bit. So there's no cables along the side, which kind of made it look like a freaking fishing trolley or something. But when looking at the 130 mils, you have faster turret traverse, you have lower max damage for AP and HE, but, and this is important, the shell velocity is greater, and more importantly, it's actually equal between the AP and the HE. So I'll get to that in a moment, but the fire chance, curiously enough, also increases with it. So that's a really, really good little bump towards the 130 if anybody wants to stick with the 152s. The AP certainly has better penetration, but it also takes over 11 seconds to go the max range. So good luck hitting anything if you're trying to, like, I mean, you have to actually really lead them even, at lower ranges than that. But it does have pretty good speed at 24 knots, an awesome turning circle of 450 meters. That's the same as the St. Louis. So it's tied as far as the tier 3 cruisers are concerned with the St. Louis for that. The Kolberg is only 20 meters greater, and then let's see, the Tenryu is like another 100 meters above that. So as far as the skills are concerned, again, unlike the Novik, I would go with advanced fire and training on this, because you're going to be facing ships upwards of tier 5. That's a pretty big increase in your overall your effectiveness and your efficiency to be able to continue firing at all sorts of targets that are out further away from your normal range. Now, of course, you can get up to 25.2 knots with the speed flag, and just taking a look at the camos again here, actually looks, again, pretty damn good with the Type 1 and Type 2 camos. I like the look of it. I wish we could actually select the option of, like, yeah, this type of camo will give you this benefit, but you get to choose between the different schemes and all that. I think that would be pretty cool, but that ain't gonna happen. Now, these are the 152s that you're looking at. So the max shell travel time isn't that bad for HE, but for AP, that's a pretty big increase. Now we switch over to the 130 millimeters, and it's 8.21 seconds for both. So you have parity there, and you're not having those shells come in at such a ridiculous height. So that's pretty awesome. But as far as the gameplay is concerned, you treat it like a St. Louis. You just keep wiggling and waggling, and you have guns that are always available to be on target. And my god, I gotta say, the Svetlana amps this up even further, because that's got so many damn guns. But there's also a good little benefit too, as the front and rear turrets, the main turrets there, are actually doubles. So you do get to dump out a lot of shells regardless of any angle, and any situation that you're in. You should be able to pull at least 4 turrets immediately onto a target. And good timing there, presenting the slimmest profile I could to the enemy South Carolina, as RNG did not work in his favor. So, yay, didn't get hit. Now, I am running back to the base here, and I finally got on it just before they managed to cap. I do have AP loaded, because I was anticipating the destroyers to stay in their smoke, and I was hoping to be able to, get toe-to-toe with these the cruisers. And I eventually switched back to HE, and my only real goal here was, well, one, I figure I'm going to die, so I want to just try to reset the cap as best as I can. Now, I don't lead enough here, unfortunately, and I hit only a few shells where I wanted. I was trying to go for the front clip of the ship, so more shells could hit, and I could hopefully maximize my damage there, but facing off against some of these lower tier destroyers, they can be kind of hard to hit in that respect, just because they are such a low profile, and when you're trying to hit ships like that, it's either all or nothing, really. But see, there's some, oh, there it is. So that's Campbelltown. Pretty interesting looking version of the Wix. I haven't really taken any real interest in that ship. I don't really know much about it as far as its torps and concealment and stuff like that. I think it can stealth torp actually, which is pretty interesting, but managed to take him out and also get Confederate here, as I've been hammering away at a number of different ships throughout this match, and as you can see, the damage total in the top left, I'm doing a fair amount here for tier 3. So, starting engaging the St. Louis here. They have a number of ships that are very close to dying off, and we could clear out a whole mess of these guys off of our cap and really get in a very secure position to win this match. And just trying to get my shells on this guy, but Jesus, he's so tiny. It's actually... yeah, okay, I just managed to lose that kill because of the fact that I just couldn't hit him. Now we're gonna just switch over to actually watching a replay that had been sent in by Donovan. So he's in his Bogut here and just rocking away here. He had been hitting a number of players already. He's already got 2 kills. There's his 3rd, and his South Carolina's been backing up for a while, and he's been set on fire a number of times. But there's the double strike. So 6 damage. Yeah. That's pretty awesome. So yay, double strike though. You know, as far as this ship is concerned against something like the St. Louis, if you guys have been playing for a little while, you know what the St. Louis was like before. One, it had some slight nerfs, and then the big change with AFT and BFT not benefiting the St. Louis anymore. It really is a bit of a different ship. It's still fun, but it's nowhere near what it used to be. That's what the Bogut is now, because it does benefit from AFT, it does benefit from BFT, and I'm actually really surprised that... I'm not going to say this is overpowered, but considering that they did all those changes to the St. Louis, and then they reintroduce a St. Louis that can do everything that it used to do, it seems kind of weird to me, but that's not to say that I'm not enjoying it, because this ship is fun as hell. And he has AP loaded here, so got that destroyer coming into view. He got the Kraken and gets the 6. Very nice. Good job, man. But I've had a lot of matches with this ship. I mean, 89,000 damage at a tier 3. That's freaking awesome. I've had a lot of matches in this ship that, you know, end up with, you know, 15, 20, 30, 40,000 damage and fires even. I really find it to be just a lot of fun to play, just because of the fact that, I mean, you just have so many guns. You're able to respond to pretty much everything that's happening in your sphere of influence, and that's where, again, getting advanced firing training to be able to extend that range out a few more kilometers tends to be a really good idea, so you can have relevance even in tier 5. Now, I said that about the Novik, about not doing it, simply because of the fact that I just... Well, one, I mean, are you really going to play the Novik that much to get it? I mean, if so, great, hats off to you. And in that respect, I would like to see some footage of that, but the Novik, I just don't think behaves quite the same way as the Bogut. So moving from what I think is undoubtedly the best ship at tier 3 to the Svetlana at tier 4, this one isn't as clearly defined as the Bogut at tier 3, and of course, I mean, you have some much better competition in the form of the Phoenix, the Kuma. We don't talk about the Karlsruhe here, and those ships are certainly capable. I actually just had my first Phoenix match in like 9 months and managed 144,000 damage with it, so I was pretty excited about that, but and 3-point captain no less. But the funny thing about the Svetlana, it has a ton of guns, right? But it has these awesome torps, and the aftmost can't quite throw torps forward, but the more forward option, hell yeah. I mean, you can pretty much charge at people and throw torps at them. Like, it's pretty incredible what that does in a close quarters fight. Now, they have a 39-second reload, which is blisteringly fast for a cruiser. At any tier, it's amazing to have a torp reload quite like that. The rudder shift is a bit high. It doesn't, to me, it never really feels that way, which is strange. The speed is at the low end, unfortunately, for the tier 4 cruisers, but it does feel faster to me, and maybe it's just the shape of the ship, but it does feel faster to me than some of the others, which is very odd. You do get the boost to 11.3 kilometers, which again is the worst in the tier, unfortunately, but you get the benefit of having BFT and AFT available to you as far as getting the captain skills. So the hull does, quote, improve your AA defense, but the gun upgrade is really where it's at. So it improves your shell velocity, your max AP damage, and you get a bit of a faster turret traverse as well. So all around, it's a good upgrade. I do really wish that they had the gun upgrades for battleships and stuff like that, like they used to back in closed beta, give a little bit more sense of a progress or an improvement to be had from the different arrangements that a ship had throughout its life. And I think that would be pretty interesting. But anyways, as far as the captain skills are concerned, like I said, it does benefit from the basic fire and training and advanced fire and training cap. So I do run expert marksman on this. I don't need to at all, so I would probably, you know, you could probably just run last stand or the fire prevention. Vigilance, because I tend to go hunting after destroyers, because you do get hydroacoustic with this, and even though Russian hydro isn't that great, it's still a great option to be able to have this at tier 4 and go hunting for destroyers, because as I'll show you in a minute, you can fuck those guys up. And I gotta say, I cannot wait to get concealment expert on this, because that'll bring you down to what the maximum concealment range would be, 8.1, I think, or like right around that. Can you imagine this ship not being able to be detected until 8.1 kilometers? Wow, that would be awesome. And again, just taking a look at the camos, look pretty good. I gotta say, Type 1 generally is my favorite overall for the Russian ships. I think it looks fantastic. And I'm not entirely sure about the Type 6 camo though on the Svetlana. I don't know if it works, but I think it's funny that the mast there gets some camo on it too. You can get the ship speed up over 30 knots, so that's pretty good. But yeah, that's about it for the port here, so let's jump into some gameplay. Now this is actually my first engagement with the Svetlana, my first match, and I figured out pretty quick that this ship is a bit of a handful for any destroyer that it can come across. You know, the Farragut, the Mitsuki, you know, anything that the enemy can throw at you as far as destroyers, you can absolutely wreck the hell out of them. And it's because this type of thing here, that shell march, where once you get the bead on an enemy ship, what the hell can they actually do? I mean, they just pop smoke and get out of there, which is great. You just turn right back around and keep them at the max range. And even the AP can do some work. I mean, I didn't expect a Citadel there, but I didn't have any success after that Citadel against the St. Louis here at all. But yeah, I just kept whittling away with the HE and switching back and forth between AP when the opportunity presented itself, but managed to take out the St. Louis there. And I know that was pretty quick showing you the torpedo arcs, but you'll get a lot more of that here in the next clip. But those cute little 52 knot torps, a slow inevitable crawl to the side of a battleship and pop. So yeah, that felt pretty good for first match in the ship, right? But while the gun should be the primary focus for any given cruiser, sometimes you get replay sent in like this one from DJ Kelly that it's just too fun to pass up. So again, you have to consider when you're in a close quarters match against a ship like this, the reload on the torps is batshit crazy. So 39 seconds, just think about that. You fire once while this ship is closing on you, and you've got that 30-second reload, and say he's already got torps in the water. By the time you're ready to fire again, there's another set of torps in the water. I mean, that's crazy. That Myogi just ate 5 torps and disappeared. Now, curiously, Callie's teammates here are actually behind the enemy here at sea. So this Bogut here is totally distracted, and generally all three of these guys are preoccupied. So he's able to close the distance here and keep these torps in the water and throw them at these guys constantly. And the Bogatir, though, well, he's thoroughly distracted. Takes a bit of HE damage there, and a torp as well. And so now DJ's in a situation that I would love to be in. Get to be hyper aggressive. Your team is going to win, and you know you're in a situation to use more torpedoes as it gets the port side torps off again. And the Isokazi back there just got nailed by his last salvo, and he's still targeting him. Gonna go ahead and fire over the Wyoming, who finally takes an interest in him. But this has got to be one of the worst torp spreads I've ever seen in this game. Those are friendly torps. I mean, where the hell are they going? You know, but whatever. Gets the ship swung around, gets the starboard torps off, and unfortunately dies in the process. But a couple more hits, so it gets Confederate and high caliber, and I almost missed this. But a couple more hits for Kraken and just a flesh wound, so pretty damn awesome. Now, I do like the guns on this quite a bit, whether it's HE or AP. This Furutaka would probably disagree with me, so 5 Citadels, that's pretty damn good. And for some reason it doesn't show what actually killed him there, so I'm guessing it was a Citadel, but yeah, it just popped up with the kill ribbon, curiously. Alright, and let's round this out with a match I had just actually yesterday in the Svetlana. So I'm pretty much on my own here against the Kuma, and there's a Myogi further in the back there as the Kuma takes a couple Citadels and is friendly enough to take a couple more. But the Langleys have been harassing the shit out of me for a while now in this match, and I've been trying to dodge as many of their torps as I can, which I did a pretty good job of, but it was their dive bombers that were kind of screwing me up a bit and constantly setting me on fire and doing the real damage. But the Kuma swings back around to his right and straightens out, trying to bring all of his guns to bear, and gets meted with a triple Citadel to finish him off. So I'm pretty confident taking the ship against enemy cruisers to tier 5. Once you start talking about tier 6, there's not many ships that stand up very well against a Cleveland. The Aoba, I really have fallen out of favor with that particular ship. God, that thing is wildly inaccurate for some damn reason for me. I just can't seem to hit a damn thing with it. But the concealment on this allows you to get into positions against like Omahas and Mermaids, where you can get along their side, and you know, at 9.7, I mean, you're under 10 kilometers for your detection. That's insanely good, and with the amount of shells that you can bring to bear on a given target, you can really do some damage to them before they ever have a chance to respond. And that's a pretty powerful thing to be able to have in your back pocket, that you can go dark in most situations. You know, if you're being chased and they're 11 kilometers away, you are probably going to get run down if they're, you know, say in the Murmansk. But it's going to take a little bit of time, but you at least have the chance to mitigate some damage until that point, you know. And I am trying to engage both Langleys here to leave me the hell alone, and getting some HE Citadels, trying to hit the fat area just on the latter third of the ship. And yay, there's the kill. So yeah, the Svetlana, the Bogut, they definitely get a thumbs up from me. I think they're just a load of fun, even though I'm at the shores and I'm very, very close to unlocking the Chapiev. I come back to these because it's just enjoyable, and I enjoy low tiers. I think it's just batshit crazy fun. So, you know, to each their own on that, of course, but I will be streaming today at 3 p.m. Eastern. Going to buy back the North Carolina because 5.6 hits, and there's a lot of changes, which I'll leave a link to all that stuff in the description. So either way, hope you enjoyed today's video, guys, and feel free to drop a line in the comments section, of course, and I will see you back here soon. Take care.